Winter came once a year to the island of Sodor. It didn't always snow, but this year made up for it. The New Year season had begun, and the little engines of the hills were bravely battling the cold. None were struggling more than Peter Sam.
Come on. I mustn't slip. I mustn't.
Peter Sam had a nice warm cab and an even warmer personality, so the crew often liked to take him out on these bitter cold mornings. But deep down, he was worried.
Come on, Peter Sam. Let's have a good run up the hill and we'll be at the top before you know it.
The driver opened the regulator and they roared up the hill. Then, it happened.
Oh no, I'm slipping.
Don't panic. Stay calm. Let your wheels grip.
Get a grip.
It was no good. Peter Sam struggled furiously to keep going, but the hill and the ice got the better of him.
Oh bother.
He spun to a standstill.
I'm stuck.
Sir Handel had to come and push the train to the next station.
Do you know what time it is, Peter Sam? It's 8:30.
Yes. Fortunately, Duncan, we're both fully past caring about it. Being late can happen to anyone.
Fortunately for Peter Sam, it seems to be happening an awful lot lately. It's only snow, nothing more than a nuisance if you ask me.
It can be dangerous all the same. Now stop complaining and leave Peter Sam alone. Ignore him, he just doesn't like this cold weather.
I don't either.
The other engines could tell that Peter Sam wasn't his usual chipper self when they got back to the shed that night. He refused to go out in the snow, because he thought he would never be able to get going again if he slipped.
You'll have to get over this fear eventually, Peter Sam. You've taken countless trains in the snow before, and you've never had a problem. We definitely need your help with the trains, what with me waiting for overhaul and all.
Skarloey is right, Peter Sam, for once. He knows all about fears. The more you avoid something, the bigger a problem it becomes. We engines must prove that we can get our passengers through, no matter what the weather.
Exactly. Come on, you lot. You should be ready to go by now. I do love the winter, but there's so much to do. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of winter?
Cold, snow, Christmas, New Year's. Rest.
Maintenance.
Rest.
We need to bring down the weed killer tanker from Quarry Sidings, and we haven't inspected the track near Five Bend since that flood, and...
Oh, pipe down out there, will you? I was having a really nice dream.
What about?
That's confidential. Rusty, why are you telling everyone else to get a move on when you haven't gone off shed yourself?
Oh, you're right. I should be getting to work too. See you all later.
Rusty left in a rush, but he didn't get far. He strung up the yard completely oblivious to the ice that coated over the points.
Whoa! Ah! Ow! Oh.
Oh, well, that's done it, Rusty. You've broken a spring.
Probably broken until spring now.
And that was that. Rusty's eagerness to start work early had meant he was now late.
What do you mean you want me to take your goods train with my passenger train? That's just wrong.
It's not a goods train, Duncan. It's just one wagon. We were supposed to fetch the weed killer tanker out of storage so we can start clearing the line as soon as snow clears. If you could kindly bring it down on your last train, that would be a huge help for all of us.
The things you engines expect me to do. Oh, yes, sir. No, sir. 3 bags full, sir.
As if Duncan's mood wasn't cold enough already. On the platform he found his usual grumpy passenger, impatiently waiting for him.
Oh no, Moody Malcolm is here again.
Oh, come on, you incapable steam engine. I'm late for work. 10 minutes late and we haven't even started. Let's get on with it.
If he's so urgent, why doesn't he just walk?
Because it isn't race the train day, Duncan. And he's relying on you to get him to work, no matter how much he annoys you.
Ugh. Easy for you to say, Renes. He never seems to travel on anyone else's train other than mine.
Maybe it's because you're so similar.
What Rheneas said was true. The roads were so severely blocked that the train was the most reliable option. But that didn't mean it was an easy journey.
Come on, come on. What's the hold up? I've got places to be.
Why can't those places be far away from me?
Whoa! Stop!
Oh, what is it now? You're making me late out of spite, aren't you?
I wouldn't be saying that if there was a snowfall.
You're welcome.
Do you know what time this is, Duncan?
Time you watch what you were saying, Sir Handel. Don't you get on my bad side as well.
Bad side? Do you have a good side?
At the top station, Duncan was glad to drop off his passengers, and then found the weed killer wagon to couple to the back of his train. Then he headed back. He rocked, and he rolled, all the way back down the line, and the passengers were soon just as fed up. Worse still, nobody realized that he'd made the weed killer wagon start leaking, and the liquid began spraying over the rails.
Get no rest, get no rest.
Next morning, there was bad news at the shed.
Oh, broken stays. Looks like I'll be staying, yeah. Sorry, Peter Sam, but I think you'll have to cover for me today.
I thought you were meant to be the reliable one, Rheneas. I am surprised.
But can't someone else take it?
Of course they can, but none more suiting than you, Peter Sam. This is a good chance to stretch your wheels again. Think of how lucky you are to be able to. Not stuck in here like me, or old reliable here, eh?
Go on. If you're going to worry about slipping up out there, then you might as well do it having tried your best.
Besides, now that the Thing controller has told Duncan to cover the works trains for me, we'll definitely need your help on the passenger runs.
Peter Sam took a deep breath, then decided it would be best to play his part after all. Waiting for the snow to melt had become a bore anyway.
Oh dear, I've not been able to do my routine checks up the line. What state's it in? Is it okay?
Whatever state you left it in, Rusty, get some rest now. It's only been one day. Not much could have happened.
But this time Rheneas was wrong. Overnight, several layers of light snow had formed, and as well as icing up the tracks, it was making the hillsides unstable.
The next train to depart from platform 2 will indeed depart from platform 2.
You look worried.
It's this snow. History told me that things don't go well for me when it snows. I'm worried that I'll slip and get stuck.
Nonsense. You should meet Rex. He's got a terrible case of wheel slipping, but I've never seen him frown about it.
Really? Rex? The green one?
If he gets stuck, he asks for help. It might be embarrassing, but what's the worst that can happen? He's still our Rex. If something goes wrong for him, he knows the day'll go on regardless, and he might as well make it a good one. I thought you were the bright little green engine on this line that could always lift everyone's spirits and tell them to never give up. Or am I mistaken?
No, you're right. I've done this before. I can do it again. Thanks, Duck. Goodbye. I hope you have a nice day.
There's our Peter Sam.
Good news, you two. We've called up the line and found it in storage. We have some space springs for you, Rusty. And some space stays for you, Rheneas. You'll be back on the line in no time at all.
Oh, great.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Wanted to go out.
As soon as I'm fixed, I'm doing a full inspection of the line.
There was a lot of loose snow in the first valley. If I were you, I'd make sure that's secure before there's an accident.
What? But Peter Sam's already left. Why didn't you tell him?
I was daydreaming.
About what?
That's confidential.
Well, you'd better follow him up the line and see if he's all right.
And pick up those parts for Rusty and I, if you could.
Duncan suddenly began to feel guilty. Skarloey, Rheneas, and Rusty wanted nothing more but to get back to work. And here he was, always trying to avoid it.
Will not slip, will not slip, will not slip.
Why, oh why are we running so slowly? Finally we get a new engine to take the train, and yet we're still running late. This is an outcry.
Ignore him, Peter Sam. Take your time. Use plenty of sand, and if we slip, just roll with it, and we'll try again.
Right, I can do this.
It's alright.
Come on. Cinders and ashes. Why are the tracks so slippery? Oh no.
Peter Sam's wheels slipped furiously, and the train quickly skated to a stop.
Oh no, I'm slipped. Oh no, it's even worse. It's an avalanche.
Oh, what could it be now? Oh, that's a lot of snow. We could have hit that.
10 points to you, sir. For some reason, there appears to be weed-killing liquid frozen on the rails. Now we could stop in time, but why is it on the tracks?
Weed killer? Thank goodness that was on the line. I was trying so hard not to slip, but if I hadn't, I may not have stopped in time.
Yeah, but why is it on the tracks?
That might have been me.
Excuse me, but who do I have to thank for saving us from that snowdrift?
That would be Peter Sam, sir. Thankfully, he is the occasional slip-up, but as you can see, it's just as much a skill as it is a flaw.
Well, thank you, Duncan. But sir, it's only because of him that I slipped at all. He's just as responsible as I am.
It doesn't really matter. Thank you both. I'll put in a good word to your controller about this. Maybe that yellow engine isn't as bad as he seems. Now, if we could please get going again. The clock doesn't stop ticking, you know.
Both Duncan and Peter Sam laughed as the crew set to work clearing the line. Then, Duncan helped Peter Sam all the way to the next station.
Trouble was there, Peter Sam?
Oh, nothing that couldn't be solved, Sir Handel. I had a bit of a slip-up again. Thankfully, Duncan helped me make up for lost time.
Duncan? Catch up with her time, Sir Handel. Peter Sam's wheel slip prevented a very cold accident. I helped a bit too, obviously.
Peter Sam was proud. He wasn't afraid of slipping up anymore, and found it definitely had its uses. He steamed up the line with pride, while Duncan fetched the spare engine parts and took them back to the wharf. He and Peter Sam both worked extra hard whilst the others were being repaired, and a few days later, Rheneas and Rusty were mended.
Finally, I can get back to being useful again. Thanks for filling in for me, Duncan. I know you don't like taking the works trains, or any trains for that matter.
Nah, it's the things I do for you engines. I've got to play my part from time to time.
And well done to you, Peter Sam, for braving your fear.
Oh, it was nothing. I realised I was just being silly. Everyone makes slip-ups, but you'll never get anywhere going round in circles worrying about it.
This is a video made for kids. Okay.
I think I'm coming down with something. Hopefully not coronavirus. Imagine that. My last recording.
I'm going to slam dunk you, Handel.
Did he post special funnel here? Because where's the special funnel got him now?
Cold, snow, Christmas, New Year's, rest, mountain, fountain, bicycle, director's cut of Magic Railroad.
Saved us from a cold scrape. Why do I sound like Harold?
Let's do that one again.
Why am I slipping so slippery?
Puffed Thomas, the tank engine.
Now that the thing controller has told Duncan to go...
Good news, YouTube. We called up the line and found it.
I get no rest. I eat Pizza Hut. Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut.
A big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters, particularly Alex Goodman, GBH Train, Donald 9 and Douglas 10, D0280 Falcon, and Sean Tempest.